guys? Welcome to the Cole Cast. Nailed it. Got the name right this time. Today we have a semi-special guest. Usually it's a very special guest. Today's a semi-special guest. We have Coal Ironworks' little brother. Everyone here essentially is a big brother for Will Stelter.
You forgot I'm also the former owner of Coal Ironworks.
The former owner. Yeah. We can get into that story later, but you owned Coal Ironworks for roughly 30 seconds.
It was a little bit longer than that. Like 10
was it
minutes,
10?
maybe.
Yeah, before we took it back. There was a coup.
Yeah.
There was a coup. This one's going to be fun because we have a fairly good relationship with Will as a company. Well, okay, hold on. As a company, we have a very good relationship with Will. Will and I personally we're figuring things out, right?
Frenemies, maybe?
Yeah, we dated in high school. And now we're reconnecting later in life, but I still hold a lot of things against you that you did, you know?
That's fair.
Will came down for the Great American Hammer-In for the ABS through that in Troy, Ohio. We were able to attend that and took Will out with us, and he stayed the following week for the 48-hour Dagger Challenge, and has been using some of our equipment, getting to know the ins and outs of what it takes to build the machines and be around us all day while working on his own projects. You've actually probably worked harder than anybody else in the shop because you've been here until 8 o'clock every single night, getting to play with toys and wait up the numbers.
Yeah,
later than 8.
10. Yeah, for the Dagger Challenge.
Well, you're still not pulling David hours.
That's fair. I don't know, man. I did 2 or 3 21-hour days in a row. Yeah,
but David's here until 4 a.m.
That's fair.
Like pretty consistent.
I was in Logan's shop until 4 a.m. 2 days.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm just talking as far as like the grounds of Coal Ironworks.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the story before I was rudely interrupted. Will came out for the Great American Hammer-In. We were able to go to that. We had a really fun time there. We can talk about that a little bit. We can talk about what you've been doing with the 48-hour challenge. There's a lot to cover because a lot has happened in the past couple weeks. But first of all, I'll let you introduce yourself because I probably did a terrible job and I never say your name correctly to the point where I don't actually know which variant I use is correct.
Classic Francois.
So go ahead and give us a 30-second rundown of who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump off from there.
Sure. Well, my name is Will Stelter. I'm 24 years old. I only look like I'm 14. So I did get started making knives when I was 14, and I've been doing it full time since I was 18. I moved to Montana from the Seattle area and have been, working in my own shop. I spent a couple of years co-hosting Alex Steele's YouTube channel, and that got me into content creation and social media stuff and whatnot. And now, that's all I do is restore old machines and do blacksmithing and metalworking projects and pretty much anything that is relatively of interest to someone who likes old stuff, I can make a video about and put it on my channel, and it does pretty good.
So if you like Chris Cash and Mr. Beast, they need to find your channel.
Something like that,
okay. Yeah. Can I get your best what's up, guys? Your best YouTube what's up, guys?
I say howdy, actually, because I live in the Wild West.
Unacceptable.
What's up, guys?
That was pretty good, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Thanks.
So you grew up in Seattle. So I cleared my throat directly in the microphone. This is going to be a great episode because I'm way more comfortable. So you grew up in Seattle. I assume you were born at a young age. That joke's going to come out just like with Logan. What were you interested in as a kid? Was there anything that growing up you kind of set the precedent of you were going to do this kind of stuff for your extended adulthood, or did you just come across it? Yeah,
so I still haven't fully made the decision that this is what I'm going to do for a living. It just kind of like happened, which for one thing, well, I'll start off with I was kind of a weird kid in that I was like not very good at sports, and I didn't care about school at all because the things that we were learning was not interesting to me for the most part. Like there are some classes that I totally worked hard at to be good at, but for the most part, it was not my favorite thing. Yeah, I never enjoyed asking a teacher like, "Hey, how will I use this in real life?" And they're like, "You won't, but you needed to get to the next class." And you're
Right.
like, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah.
But no, I was in Boy Scouts as a kid, and so spent a lot of time outdoors. We had a very active troop, which is what a group of Boy Scouts are called.
Sure.
And so, yeah. So I spent a lot of time outdoors as a kid, a lot of time with knives and tools in my hands, stuff like that. I wasn't necessarily always building stuff, but I always enjoyed being outside, and I always enjoyed using knives. So I had a really junky knife collection as a child. I think I got my first knife when I was like 4 or 5. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But it's at the time when I got into knife making, I had been playing drums and I had been doing downhill longboard racing. So I kind of bounced around with the things that I was interested in. I was like, see something online, be like, oh, I'm going to do that now, and just bounce around, not really fully really getting super into anything. I was pretty into downhill longboard racing until I ended up, I broke a collarbone, I broke a wrist, and I tore a ligament in my shoulder. So separate incidents.
Not all at once.
No, I fell a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
But only because I was bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I found videos of making things online, I was pretty dang captivated with it. And they were all YouTube videos. I didn't know anything about blade forms or anything like that. I started off watching videos about kydex making. Basically, I was like, oh, you can make sheaths for your stuff? Mm-hmm. Maybe I can make worse sheaths than what my knives already have.
Yeah.
And so I got a kydex press, I got a little 1x30 belt grinder, and I got to work.
And you were 14? About 14?
At that time, I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I fiddled around with that for a little bit, really off and on, didn't do a whole lot of it. And then I started watching videos about knife making. Same channel, Michael Gavco, which is funny because back then he was making like simple fixed blades. And then on his channel, he made a friction folder and he's like, don't worry guys, I'm not going to like turn into like a folder guy. And now he does like dope Timascus frame locks.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively. Super, super good maker. Definitely different style, but his videos are really what got me into it. Cause he, I don't know where he's from in Eastern Europe, but he's got like a great accent and has a great way of like talking.
There is something about the blacksmithing community that America, I think, will never have. That is that awesome accent in English where they're voicing over, what's his name? He's I think he's Swedish. He makes a lot of axes. It might be like
Torbjorn?
Yeah. His voiceovers are always like,
wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like a good Southern accent is just hard enough to understand that it makes it entertaining.
Yeah. I think we're maybe used to it though, where when I hear that, it's like, oh, I trust that guy because he probably knows what he's talking about just based off his accent, You get a good Southern accent and you can tell me anything and I'll take it for gold, but it's not as like relaxing and easing, and you get those Eastern European makers that have been doing it forever and they make it not only in the way they're showing you, but in their explanation, because their English has to be simplified because it's not their first language or maybe even second or third language.
Yeah.
It's such a simple explanation and you get that accent and it's just cozy. It's like rain on a tin roof,
Sure. Have you ever watched Guga Foods on YouTube?
No.
I don't know where he's from, but Eastern European, and he makes steaks. Oh. Yeah, if you like Eastern European
He's not
accents.
the one that has like all the dudes come out to his kitchen with him and like he kind of is the butt of the joke in all the videos. And
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, he's a big bald dude.
Yeah, it's not this guy.
Yeah. Well, we'll watch some videos after this.
Okay.
Actually, Evan, do you want to? Oh, there we go.
I was already hungry. Will, this isn't helping.
Producer.
We just got to.
Oh yeah, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, you gotta listen to him talk. It's fantastic. This dude was a blacksmith.
Oh,
wait for it.
This is great content for a podcast.
Super good B-roll talking about.
Can you explain the
Eastern
steak?
European people making
steak
steaks.
is marbled and red and white.
Yep.
He's got a semi-decent crust on that bottom one. He just flipped it over. Better crust on the second flip.
Yeah.
Much better crust. I think he's probably working the crust
can make
in.
some crust. Oh, yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
Dude can make some crusty steaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's what is it? What is that when you cook it a little bit and then you put it? Is that reverse sear? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's doing a reverse sear?
He's going to butter baste it.
The infamous butter baster.
Why is he not talking? All he does in his videos is talk.
Juice you have, including in the lounge plan,
I skipped right to the Manscaped plug.
Let's not.
Ball toners. Beautiful steaks, Angel. What do you think?
Looks good.
Looks good, right? Your favorite filet mignon.
Filet mignon.
That's right.
He's pretty.
Not any filet mignon.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're trying something.
Yeah.
like
He's a lot of
this.
fun to listen
This is a
It
good
a
accent.
Japanese-
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Where was I?
You were
I was
talking about
living in Seattle and
Yes.
making Kydex sheaths, and
Yes.
then at 14, I bought a bar 1080 from New Jersey Steel Baron. I bought some Harbor Freight abrasives, which, by the way, I actually most of the time like Harbor Freight because they have some pretty decent stuff now.
Yeah.
Their abrasives are not in that category, especially not 10 years ago.
No.
They are. Good abrasives make a world of difference. So anyway, I made a knife-ish shaped object. I made homemade micarta for the scales. It was black, red, and white, and it looked like a cow had gotten hit by a truck. It was not a very attractive color combo, especially with like how organic it looked because I DIY'd it.
Yeah.
Do not recommend. Unless
Not for your first one.
Not for your first one.
Yeah.
No. Micarta is cheap also. I was like, oh, I can make it myself. I can spend $45 on epoxy and 3 or 4 hours to make something that costs $4.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So I made my first knife. The way that I heat treated it was by heating it up to a dull gray color with a small propane torch.
Dull
and then
gray.
quenching it in some seed oils. And
So you didn't think to yourself, like you just like watched it and you were like, oh yeah, that's a little less gray than it was. Or maybe it's more gray. I don't know. Let's quench it anyway.
For real, I was like, well, it's not going to get hot enough. Guess I'll cool it off. Is exactly how it went. And part of that is that my edge was dummy thick. It was thicker than an axe blade. I ground the bevels on the slack belt of the 1x30 because I didn't like the chatter that the platen made when I was grinding on it.
Sure.
And so it was not, I still have the knife. It is,
You're the first person I've talked to that still has their first knife.
Really?
I always ask people that. We've explained it many times. Nathan had moved shop a whole bunch of times. The first few things that he made are long gone.
Yeah.
First few things I made probably are in the rubble of Carmel, Indiana. When I look at something, when it's finished, I have my completion. I'm done. I never need to see it again. Other people, I think Kurt was on the podcast and he said that he kept his for a really long time and then accidentally lost it. And that was like the closest we've gotten to somebody keeping their first thing.
I just didn't have enough money at the time to pay someone to take it. So it's bad. It's bad.
Okay. So you would have had to pay them to get it off your hands.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It is actual garbage.
Okay. That's fine.
But it sits on a shelf in my shop now and I can look at it and be like,
Yeah.
right?
Still critique your work, but from 10 years ago.
Exactly. The thing is, after probably like a year, took those scales off, redid it, hand sanded it. Didn't grind the bevels any thinner, but I hand sanded it.
There you go.
And then it sat like that for a while, maybe like 2 more months. And then I bumped those scales off and decided that I was going to grind it thinner or sharpen it or something. Mm-hmm. And I had a Tormek grinding wheel, it's like a water-cooled, slow-moving stone sharpener. Yeah. And that had been a gift from my grandfather because he has always been super into sharpening, which is kind of cool. And he was like, "Oh, this
like
is
sharpening specifically."
Yeah,
that's cool.
Not really knives, sharpening though. Yeah, and it was really funny because my grandmother hated having sharp knives because she was apparently quite klutzy with them and like would nick herself often. And so he loved to have sharp knives, and she only wanted dull knives in her kitchen.
Did he hate your grandmother?
No.
Was that the stem of this?
No, he really liked the performance of a sharp knife, and she was the one that actually you did anything in the kitchen, and he literally, so he ended up having to dull all of their knives. Even though he loved having sharp. Anyway.
Well, if you ever work in a kitchen, one of the first rules you learn is keep your knife sharp because a dull sharp is more dangerous than a sharp knife.
A dull sharp?
Dull knife.
I remember my first time talking.
Yeah. Good thing I do this a lot, right? Like we have like very professional people come in and I have to be the one to interview them.
Right? That's good. And then you get...
I'm really good at this.
Stuck with me.
Yeah.
Ouch.
all of a sudden.
But anyway, he had gotten me this very nice sharpening system as a Christmas present or a birthday present or something. And it's actually how I ended up raising a lot of money for my knife shop, was going around and sharpening people's knives, because it was kind of a foolproof. You set the angle, you do the sharpening. It's got a power strap on it.
Okay.
Super nice. But I tried to use that to sharpen my first knife and put a big old gouge like halfway up the bevel, because the bevel was like this.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, January of 2016, so almost 2 years to the day after I made my first knife, I got some good abrasives, finally. I was one of Combat Abrasive's first ever customers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like they had like 100 followers on Instagram.
Nice.
And so bought some good abrasives, actually cut a bevel in. I made a little mini soup can forge with a much better propane torch, and then I could heat treat. And I tell you what, I made a knife, ground the bevels to a reasonable thickness. My edge wasn't like wicked thin. It was actually like a decent thickness, like 20 thou for like a kind of a decent sized chopping knife.
Sure.
And I went and I chopped through a big, like 4-inch thick Douglas fir branch from my backyard, and then cut pieces of leather with it, and it wasn't dull. And I was hooked. It was the most dopamine inducing thing that I had ever done in my whole life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just
Do you still get that feeling when
No.
you finish a knife and it stays sharp through your testing?
No.
No?
No. I wish. I do enjoy chopping through things.
I believe they refer to that as chasing the dragon. And I don't think it's good.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I mean, I still enjoy testing out knives, but yeah, that dopamine feeling, I get that feeling from holding my finished stuff now. Like if I make something that I'm really excited about, I'm like, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, it is fun to cut and chop through things, but it's nothing like the first time that I cut through something with something that I had made. And like, I was going through leather, like thick leather, and it was like easy. And I was like, oh my, I see how this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'd been doing it for like a couple of years at that point. I had probably only made 5 knives in those first 2 years. So really, I got started when I was 16, in like making an actual, that's when I made my first real knife and not just a knife shaped object. And fairly shortly after that, and I had made like a charcoal forge in that time and like hammered down on a railroad spike and stuff like that. I still have that one too. My first forged object. Actually, I think my first forged object was rebar tongs, and I think those broke and I threw them away. But
It happens.
Yeah, I had my first forged knife. But shortly thereafter, I was watching a show that some of you guys might have heard about. It's called Forged in Fire. Season 2, episode like 3 or 4, I think.
You know the exact episode.
Well, it's an important episode. It's life changing for me.
Okay.
Like it has been for many people. It's a important show. I have very complicated feelings about Forged in Fire. But
I think we all do.
yeah.
I think we all do.
Yeah, but I think back then it was better, for one thing. And a gentleman by the name of Salem Straub just whooped some butt on Forged in Fire. And when you like go through the process where you're out on the East Coast and then you go back to your home shop, it shows the town that you're in. And he lives in a town called Tenasket, which is in the absolute middle of nowhere. You are as remote as you can get while still being in Washington State. Like 20 miles south of the Canadian border.
Yep.
Halfway between Seattle and Spokane. It's like literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, sir.
And he lives 8 minutes away from my uncle. And so I was going to visit my uncle in like a week or two. And so I looked him up, found his website, sent him an email like, hey, I'm a child and I like knives.
Don't
I've never
leave
met a
emails with I'm a child.
That's not what I actually did. I'm sure I was trying to be very adult and sent as professional of an email as I possibly could have. But I was like, hey, I'm 16. I just started making knives. I'd love to meet you and maybe see your shop. And he was like, yeah, cool. Come on over. And so went over, hung out, hit it off. Great. So he like gave me a tour of his shop, showed me all of his machines, all of that. And then he was like, hey, you want to learn how to forge a knife? And I was like, just dumbstruck. I was like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And so he showed me how to forge a knife. That was my first like real forged knife. And then he was like, hey, I want to learn how to teach people how to make Damascus. Do you want to learn how to make Damascus? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so
you signed up to be a crash test dummy.
Yeah.
For what possibly could be one of the best Damascus makers in America.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Like he was like, hey, was it free? I guess it doesn't matter. So he just kind of swung for the fences and was like, if I screw up, it's okay because it's just this little 16-year-old twerp.
Exactly.
And it turned out to be pretty beneficial for both of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, been massively, I don't think he was really teaching very much at that time. He teaches a lot of classes now and he's a really good teacher.
He just taught one up at Center for, where was he teaching?
He taught one recently at CFMA, the Center for Metal Arts.
Ben was up there,
As well as he's last week or this week has been at the Bill Moran School.
Cool.
In Maryland.
Yeah.
I think I found live footage of that event.
Of you learning Damascus?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ouch. So for some reference, that's his son Fire, and his wife was pregnant with Fire when we met, and that was 3 years ago. So Fire is a lot older now, but
That's how time works.
That is how time works. I've found it's weird. Fire is probably one of the kids that like I remember him not being there, and then like for the longest like.
So you don't have nieces or nephews or anything?
No.
Okay.
No. I've watched him grow up in intermittent visits to Salem shop, and it's been like the biggest trip.
That's cool.
Yeah. Also, anyway, so Salem taught me how to make Damascus, taught me how to forge knives. I still have the first forged knife that I did with him as well. I got to go visit with him pretty consistently for about 2 years before I moved out to Montana. Right around the time that I met Salem, I also found a shop called Blade Gallery, which was literally 100 yards away from my dad's office.
Cool.
In a small kind of town, small city near Seattle. And they have one of the biggest knife purveyors in the world for custom knives. And so, and the owner, Daniel O'Malley, is a bladesmith as well.
Okay.
And a good one. And so.
I like that you have to squeeze that in there. Like, he's a good one though.
I don't know. That's their new shop.
Their building before. That's
so the guy that posted that, Moose, the first time I went in there, we were talking and I was like, I think I want to make like this little. It basically was going to look like or maybe I had made it. It looked like a little mini tomahawk with a beard on the front, and the beard was a bottle opener, and the back of it was like a little pry bar thing.
Yeah.
Super funky little junky thing.
I love little things like that.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
I'm sure I could design it much better nowadays because it would cut you very easy because it had a very thin beard that poked down.
Sure.
And there's not really a great way to use it. But
it's an axe.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Should cut.
Anyway, I went home. I went at like noon and hung out for like an hour or two. Had a great time talking to Moose and Jeff. And then I went home and made Moose one and then brought it back to him that evening. So the heat treat probably wasn't very good on it. So I spent a lot of time there for the 2 years that I lived in Seattle while I was like really serious at making knives. That's it. Evan's
real good at this.
He scrolled back 8 years.
383 weeks. What did you edit? You edited it. What did you edit? What'd you change?
Bro, I don't know. That was 8 years ago.
Somebody needs to go into the time machine and figure out what Will edited.
I'm sure I spelled something wrong because as a knife maker, I can't read or write.
Right. So. Well, and you're not allowed to take Spanish either.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, yeah. You see, it looks like a bottle opener, but you had to like use it sideways. And like as you put your hand over the sharp blade and put lots of pressure and do a twisting motion, things can go wrong.
I love that you said how the bottle opener works. I don't think I've ever gotten a bottle opener that needed instructions. I've never been like, oh, can I use a bottle opener? And they're like, right, here's the booklet.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting little fun
It's cool
creation.
looking for sure.
Yeah. If you like garbage.
I grew up around it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it was anyway, it was fun. I kind of for a little while was really obsessed with like very small little knives. I did a lot of mini cleavers. I'm
Cool.
sure Evan's going to pull up a photo of my first mini cleaver, which has a tiny little black handle. It was literally this long. It's got a little blade. I carried it on a keychain for a really long time. There it is.
Did TSA take it?
No, I still have it. Yeah.
You keep everything.
Bro, the only thing that I got rid of during that time was someone scammed me out of some mini cleavers. They were like, "Oh, we'll trade some muzzle brakes for a rifle for these knives." And I was like, "Oh, sick." And so I sent it to him, and then he deleted his account. And yeah, turns out he scammed a bunch of other people during that time as well. So yeah. Anyway, that's the most negative knife experience that I've ever had, I think. But
That's a bummer.
yeah,
Especially when you're that young.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, could have used that $200 of knives. It was 3 knives, so they're like 75, 80 bucks a piece,
$75.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definite bummer, but whatever. Yeah, from there I kind of started making. I got a forge. I got a Dave Lish forge when I was probably 17, and from there I started forging. Someone gave me an anvil. It was a It was a piece of trash.
So it was like a lawn ornament.
Yeah. The radius on all of the edges was at least like a 1-inch radius. Like, it was bad. It went in about a 1/2 inch of, like, the radius ended about a 1/2 inch in and came down about a 1/2 inch. So you could not forge any transitions on it at all.
Good tight corners.
Yes.
That's what we love
Yes.
on an anvil.
And I didn't have a Coal Ironworks press yet, so I couldn't put like a little tool in my hardy hole. I had nothing.
Well, that's a bummer. You should get that figured out.
I should. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. Yeah.
Pull the trigger.
Yeah. That was the first day making Damascus with Salem. Yeah. Tons of fun. That's a 25-ton press that he built. Yeah. His shop is so different now than it was back then. But anyway, so I started forging, started doing Damascus with Salem, bringing it home, forging it to shape, stuff like that. And that was a time where I was like, I dropped out of high school to go to college instead.
That's a weird move.
Yeah, no, Washington has a program called Running Start where you can be like, hey, I want to go to college. And they're like, okay, that's
I
fine.
hate school, so I'm going to go to even more intense school that is all self-accountability.
Dude, it was so much not more intense. It
Really?
was unbelievable.
I didn't go to college.
I
so.
had like, it was a, I think it's not a community college, but it was a community college. It was like 5 to 8 hours a week of in-person classes, and then the rest was homework, and the homework didn't really count for much most of the time. Mm-hmm. It was delightful. I could just schedule it so that I had 5-day weekends every week.
That's cool.
That was fantastic. Yeah. And that gave me loads of time to be able to go out and visit with Salem, or just spend loads of time in my shop. And so I started like really pushing myself. I had Daniel O'Malley there critiquing all of my work. And so my fit and finish went from being non-existent to like pretty decent, like kind of journeyman level fit and finish in the space of like 6 months to a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just got.
So when he was critiquing you, was it kind of no holds barred?
Oh,
or?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, here's this little guy. I really want to encourage him and keep him in it. It was like, nope, that's not good. Do it again.
Yeah, it was, it was the most helpful thing for me in the whole world. To have someone like really call me out, and not because he like hated me, but because he was like, hey, you can do better than this. The thing about fit and finish is like, it just takes patience.
Yeah.
And if you're not patient and you're cutting corners, that's an entirely fixable problem.
It's patience, and it's being willing to scrap stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I've noticed is like
100%.
people try so hard to rework stuff that it's like, dude, I understand that's $7 of wood and it's very small, but it's also still only $7.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like get rid of it.
Yeah.
Work it into another project, whatever, but
Sure.
it's just not working.
Yeah, you need to be able to learn how to fix mistakes to a certain point, and then after that, you need to be like, all right, that's garbage. I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah.
The pommel on this Stagger example is garbage, and I'm going to throw it away. Yeah. But yeah, he was an amazing critiquer, and I wanted good critique because I really didn't know, and it was massively beneficial.
I do better under that as well. There are times me, Logan, and Nathan will have a meeting, and I'll have an idea about how to move something into production or change something a little bit, and Logan will be like, okay, that's not how that works. Here's how it works, and he's constructive.
Yeah.
but he's a little bit more encouraging. Like he's, I can see where you would think that, but where me and Nathan have a relationship where we've known each other for 15 years, and he'll just be like, nope, you're not going to tell me. Nope, we're going to do it my way, and here's why. And he's very blunt about it, but at the same time, I know it's because I didn't meet the expectation he has for me.
Yeah.
And he knows where that expectation should be. It's not this super high level that it's like, you've done better than this in the past, Francis. Get it together.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that critique and the ability to take criticism, it's something that I feel like I want to talk about a lot because it changed my life.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I probably have a harder time with it now just because I think the things that I make are better. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I still want to be able to take critique, but I feel obviously like my standard is a lot higher. And so it hurts more when.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have more time and effort.
Yeah. When there are things that are wrong with the piece. That being said, I have always been a huge advocate for asking for critique on your work, especially in knife making, because there are some subjective things, but there are also a lot of objective different things that you can do to make a knife better.
Well, even in the subjective things, it's subjective to say I prefer this over that, but it is very objective to say in my history or in my accounts, this has performed better. People like this better. So even though you think it looks cool, that's not going to meet the audience that you're looking at.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that an interesting thing that I've found going to a lot of knife shows and a lot of events in the last little bit is a lot of people ask for critique. I think because they hear people talking about it on videos, on podcasts, on social media, like, hey, you need to get critique. It's going to make you better. You need to get critique. It's going to make you better. People are like, oh, I'll go get critique. And they don't really want it. They don't know what they're getting into.
They're looking for encouragement, not critique. There's difference. Yes.
Yeah. Which is, if you go up and ask someone for a critique on your piece, if you just show it to them, pretty much anyone who's good at knife making is going to be like, oh, cool, and hand it back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're like, hey, I really want to get better, and I like tear it apart, let me know what I did wrong, and they like start getting into it, and you explain why you did everything the way that you did it, that person will not want to keep on talking to you.
Yeah.
Because it is the most annoying thing that you can possibly do.
I think, I've seen pretty much the whole gamut of people getting critique from knives, hammers, whatever. We tend to have people at our tents, whether they're doing a demonstration, somebody like you that we just brought out with us and you happen to hang out with us, or, whatever. And they'll come up to, say, like a you or David, and they'll say, hey, critique this. And I think you can tell within the first 10, 15 seconds of that interaction what they're looking for.
Yeah.
David's pretty good about knowing the encouragement and, whatnot. But I think the things that I've seen that have been most beneficial is when you walk up and you say, hey, here's this. Will you critique it? I'm specifically looking for the way the handle meets the pommel. Here's why I did it this way. What would you have done differently? And they ask for those really specific parts that they were struggling with, that they know are the weak parts in their project.
Yeah.
That's where I see people grow the most, where they come back a couple, maybe it'll be a month or two before we see them again.
Yeah.
And they bring back exactly what David told them to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the beneficial moments, not the, do you think my work is good? Because any of us, we want to be encouraging. We want to, it's like, yeah, dude, that looks great. I'm so stoked that it's better from last time. But the amount of growth is so much different when you specifically point out what you're looking for help with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think that being in the right headspace for it and not having an ego, if you have a big ego in knife making, like you might be a good knife maker, but you're not going to have the support of the community behind you, which is, in my opinion, maybe the best part of knife making.
Yeah.
You're not going to, have the encouragement and the ability to ask for advice, because the simple fact of the matter is that I've been making knives for 8 years, and the collective knowledge of the people that I can draw from is probably like 1,000 years of knife making experience.
Yeah. And half of that is Steve.
Exactly. Yeah. So being able to draw from that knowledge pool is unbelievable. And so long as you're like a decent person and like, humble, boy, the older people are, people like over the age of like 34 or something like that. Like the really old people.
Still there. 33.
Oh, dang it.
Still.
Oh, Dave's 35.
Still young. Yeah.
I forgot.
No, I think,
But-
they're more willing to share when you just shut up and listen.
Exactly.
Those guys will ramble and ramble. And when I say ramble, I don't mean just like mindlessly.
No.
They get into the nitty gritty and they'll share with you for 2 hours exactly how to do stuff.
I don't know any other industry where you're like, hey, I'm new to this and I want to get better. What can you help me with? And like, oh, here's all of the secrets that I've worked at improving over the last, at great expense over the last 30 years. Here, have it all for free right now.
Not just that, but you emailed Salem and his response was, instead of, yeah, dude, that's super cool, he was like, come over.
Yeah.
And then you talked to him for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And he was like, do you want to learn how to make a knife? Do you want to learn how to make Damascus? There is no other community that is, as soon as you get in contact with somebody, the first thing you hear is, we should forge sometime.
Yeah.
You should come over.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's sick. We talk about it on every single show, how awesome the community is. And you're right. Yeah. There are outliers in the community, unfortunately. And I think the thing that you can notice pretty quickly is those outliers are the ones that don't want the critiques. Yeah. They have the ego, and it might be perceived, it might be real, whatever. I'm not here to judge somebody, but I think you're right. When you go into a situation where you could be, a Steve or a Dave Lish or a lot of these guys that we think of as prolific, and those are still the guys that will go to each other and say, hey man, how do I get this thing done that you're really good at? Like if I'm Neil Kamamara, I'm calling Steve every time I do jelly roll.
Yeah.
That's just something that he's going to be better at me at. Even if I have more followers, even if I have, this kind of trend behind me, I'm still going to these legends in the craft, and you don't notice that with the outliers.
Yeah,
that's not a thing that happens.
No, yeah, I think that. Yeah, I always say that my best skill, especially when I was getting started, was the ability to invite myself to other people's shops.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is just like being willing to reach out and ask. And I say that, and I'm a little bit hypocritical in that because I have so many people that reach out to me to come and visit, and I just don't have the bandwidth for it right now.
Sure.
And so I have.
Well, there's a difference between 1 or 2 people a month or maybe even every 6 months asking.
Yeah.
And somebody who has a Instagram following, a YouTube following, somebody who's really young that people want to be interactive with.
Yeah.
You probably get a lot more requests, because I know we get emails once or twice a week that's like, hey, I want to come out and forge. If we were to do that, I would be here every night until 10 o'clock at night, because people have different schedules. They can get here at a certain time. They want to do different projects. And then it's like, if they come out, what if I don't want to make knives? I'm not a knife maker at all. If they come out and they're like, oh, I forge knives, they're not going to have a fun time with me. Yeah. So I have to keep that in mind too,
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. Yeah. I do my best for people, you got to do a little bit of vetting, because especially for me, I have a lot of people who have never spent any time in the forge before. They're like, oh, this looked interesting online. Mm-hmm. I'll reach out. And I love teaching. I love helping people. But if you reach out to someone and you want to learn from them, you kind of got to prove that you're serious before they're going to take you seriously.
Well, you were a self-starter.
Exactly. I had made knives. I had heat treated them. I was able to show that I was working at it.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't great, they still, I was still working at it. And that's the thing. Like, if you ask someone a question just for the sake of asking a question, for one thing, they're probably going to know it, and then they're going to be like, oh, cool, you're wasting my time. Bladesmiths are hugely willing to help out as long as they feel like they're not wasting their time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting, that would be something that I would encourage people. I go to knife shows, go to hammer-ins, go to events, all of that. Think of good questions. Don't waste people's time, because their time is valuable and they're giving it away for free. And when you take something valuable and don't utilize it, that's insulting.
Not to plug our Instagram, be it most people who listen to this probably already follow us on Instagram, but follow brands. Follow Coal Iron Works, follow Red Label Abrasives, follow Broadbeck. Those are the guys that go out to pop-up shows and they will tell you what show's going on around you, what show they're going to be at.
Sure.
Coming in and starting out and getting to know people at those shows is a lot easier to create relationships than just shooting an email, which worked for you, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but if you come out to my tent 5 or 6 shows in a row, and then 2 months from there, you're like, hey, I'm actually going to be in Anderson next week. I'm probably going to open my forge for you. I'm probably going to come out and we'll work on something together, as opposed to, it's a little bit different than us, because a lot of people are like, hey, I want to test it before I buy it. Can I come? And so we try to keep an open forge. But, somebody like David, he's got a family, he's got his job, he's got, cedar lore on top of that. So 2 jobs. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
He can't just take an email and say, yep, next Friday I can be here until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So creating those relationships is very, very easy to do at these local hammer-ins, and you can do that by following brands.
Sure.
That's the biggest benefit, I think, to following brands in our community is exposure to really cool stuff, because they repost their makers and stuff, but then also the events going on, we want you to come, because that's how we make money. Yeah. So we advertise the crap out of it. You'll know exactly what's going on.
Sure. Yeah. And honestly, there some of the other ways to follow along with stuff like that is just find the other local blacksmiths, like go to Abana, go to, they have meets. Most clubs have meets fairly regularly, like at least every couple months, and you can meet the people there. They'll know whoever's in the area that's into the type of stuff that you want to get into: axes, knives, ornamental stuff, whatever it is. They'll know. Yeah. And that is the best. I think the best way to do it.
Yeah, we need a revival of the local blacksmithing clubs. SOFA does a great job. Southern Ohio Forge and Anvil.
It's a cool facility.
Really cool facility. That's what got Nathan into it was SOFA. He's from 15 minutes away from the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We have in Indiana, we have IBA, which Indiana is such a weird, long state that you can be part of the IBA in the north or the south. And there's a meeting just about every weekend, depends on where you want to drive, right? Yeah. So your meeting could be once a month, or you could go to every single meeting. So getting involved in those local. I obviously can't name them all. I'm from Indiana, not Wisconsin or anything, but get involved with your local blacksmithing community. Yeah. And that's also how you're going to get your hands on tools that you wouldn't have in your own shop, which is just going to make you better at what you're doing, and you're going to get a better fit and finish.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is, I love tools. Mm-hmm. I'm a real nut about tools. And part of it is because I've gotten to visit so many different people. I've been very intentional about anywhere I travel, I try and find someone to go and visit. The first time I went to Italy, I stopped and visited Oliver Goldschmidt, who's turned into a very close friend of mine, and I've gotten to go visit
Great
him
guy.
two times again now. Yeah. And that was like just looking up. Actually, I think I found him on Instagram like right before I got over there or something like that. And then I like looked up like bladesmiths in Florence or something, and found him. And you can do that anywhere that you go. It's a little bit more challenging nowadays. I just know people everywhere.
Sure. Yeah.
And when I do a road trip, it's like, oh man, there's like 8 different people that I want to visit. Who am I going to stop at? Yeah. Yep. There's old Ollie. He's a wicked talented bladesmith.
Oh yeah. And I love how subtle he is with stuff. The one he brought to Blade Show this year, when you're standing 5 feet away, it's just like, that's cool. And then he hands it to you, and there are so many little subtle details in what he's doing with that little, right there, middle left.
That knife is like 5 years old, but yeah.
That's what he brought to Blade Show. No, that's not?
No. I mean, it's this similar model. He calls it the Nightingale. Mm-hmm. That's a hunter. I think he won best hunting knife with that, or best utility hunter.
Beautiful. But
I mean, he has a great style, great
personality.
Yes, yeah.
Also, he's just a fantastic dude.
Yeah, super fun to hang out with. I really appreciate him.
Flies balloons for a living.
Yeah, that he
which
does.
Is sick.
Yeah, no, he's wicked cool. And that series of knives, the Nightingale, he started it years ago, and it's had like a very cool stylistic progression that's been super fun to follow along with. But he's probably who I've taken the most design inspiration from overall. Mm-hmm. Yep. there it is. 321 weeks ago. If you go onto my
That's
Instagram,
you.
that's me.
That looks like it could be a cousin.
I was wearing that shirt yesterday.
Were you?
Yes.
That doesn't look like you.
I know. Yeah. If you go onto my Instagram and go back a couple of posts to my post with him, it's that photo as well. And then a photo that we took this last trip. And the knife that I was holding in that photo, I forged there 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then it kicked around my shop and followed me along with like 4 or 5 shops or something like that. 5 shops. And then before I left for this trip, I reforged it into a usable shape and made it good. And then finished it out and got to give it to him, which was super cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was pretty
looking a little different.
Oliver also does.
Looking a little different.
That's with Niels.
Oliver's had a rough couple years.
Oh man, yeah. If you go, I think it's down like 2 or 3 posts behind that, or 4 posts. There it is. Yeah, and then, yeah, that was the most recent trip, and then some balloon flights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oliver's a very good balloon pilot. It's funny because you'd think that like you can't really like
You just go up and hope the wind takes you where you want to go.
Yeah, but I learned this from him that there's different drafts and different air currents going different directions, different heights, and so they can control where they go by their height and hitting different air currents. It's wicked cool.
Sounds like witchcraft to me. I'm out.
Yeah, burn it.
Yep.
They keep on trying, but it gets
just
higher.
Won't go. Yeah, it just goes higher
when you try and burn it down. Yeah, it's a real bummer, but. Yeah, no, he's been a massive inspiration for me, and part of the reason why I think that his stuff is so cool is because he learned completely by himself. He had like barely internet in that, like he wasn't watching videos on how to do stuff. He literally like figured things out by himself and got to like a really high level.
That's cool.
Before he like met anyone else. So his the way that I fit things up is the way that he fits things up, which is that recessed fit. I'm just too strong. So I slide, the top of the bolster sits below the top of the handle.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called recessed. Yeah, because it's recessed.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And
It's better than calling it a depression.
Yes. The old depressing fit. No, the guard is depressed fit on.
Yeah.
You just press it on there. No, it's and he came up with that because he was like, "Hey, I don't know how to get things flat, and so I'll just sink it in."
Yeah.
Which makes a stupid amount of sense.
A lot.
And it goes very fast for me now.
Cool.
Yeah. And it means you can do weird shapes a lot easier. Charlie Ellis is great at doing super funky fit ups, but I can do that fit up in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And Charlie can do it in like 15 years, maybe.
Yeah, but he also will design, build, and put into production 15 jigs that he can make money off of while he does it.
Unbelievably cool. And also, there's definitely there's a lot of downfalls to this style of fit up. You can't do spacers with it, and Charlie uses a lot of different cool, colorful spacers it's just not possible to do it in the same way. That is a wicked fit. Homie can fit a bolster.
Yeah.
Good Lord. I really like Charlie. Yeah. He just taught he just
taught a class.
And is he gonna be teaching more classes?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. He's
hopefully teaching a lot of classes.
Good dude.
We talk about Charlie on this podcast. We're probably at like a 50% rate at this point.
Good.
He is everybody's favorite maker.
Good.
Everybody. It's like him and
man.
Pete Braspeniks are the two people that get brought up the most.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Pete's one of my favorite blacksmiths.
Also the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are you gonna have him on the podcast?
Whenever he wants.
Doesn't he live near here?
No, he's pretty far away in Michigan.
It's like one state away.
Yeah. Geography, brother. Indiana's a very long state. Michigan is also a lot longer than you think it is. So he's probably like 6 or 7 hours away.
Yeah, you can drive for 7 hours and still be in Montana. So,
yeah. Well, you don't understand time and the way it works. We've already discussed this.
oh my god.
More Pete. Always show off Pete.
Yeah.
Pete does a lot of really cool stuff.
A sculpture that I bought from him a while back. One of the like sad long shadow sculptures. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was I think a steal of a deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like
he's one of the sweetest like genuinely cares about you the moment he meets you and is willing to sit down with you and learn from you and see from your point of view and your perspective and not debate you, but ask questions about why and how you view things.
Yeah. That's cool.
And his whole, I've only spent maybe 4 or 5 hours around him because he's friends with our buddy Nate Runnels, but he seems like he is actively seeking a well-rounded life view, and picking out whatever is beneficial for him and his family, and taking advice from wherever it may come. So I really appreciate about it because I'm naturally the opposite. I just do what works, and if you try to introduce something that might work better, I hate it. Leave it alone. This already works. Why mess with it? So the fact that I can see him actively doing that, and hopefully over the years get to know him better and see him growing it's kind of inspiring.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I've never met him, haven't really ever talked to him, just like a little bit over.
You should come to Sofa because he comes every year. So
I would really like to.
Yeah,
that would be a good time.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be a very good time at Sofa.
It's going to be a hard maybe for me.
Yeah.
Especially because we'll be back in December for the Coal Ironworks Hammer-In.
Coal Ironworks Hammer-In will also be a very good time.
Oh, it's so much fun. Logan and I talked to Lucas O'Hara yesterday on the phone.
Yeah.
And he was like, that was the best event that I went to last year by far. And Lucas goes to a lot of events.
Yeah. Lucas also hugs a lot people.
Yes, he does.
He's a big hugger.
He is. He's a physically big hugger. He's like 6'7".
So I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
6'4"
Yeah. And you look little next to him.
And I look tiny next to him.
Yeah.
And he bought his press. And we leveraged that to go to Blade Show West and send his press out with a couple other presses we were sending.
I remember.
And Logan walked in, or you walked in, and you were like, "Oh, Lucas, this is Francis." And I had emailed him a whole bunch, but we had never met.
Yeah.
And he didn't say hello. He didn't, hey, what's up, dude? He just walked over to me and gave me the biggest, most uncomfortable hug I've ever had.
Do you feel like a small child?
Because I'm not used to being that small. Usually when you go in for a hug, I have to lean down or,
you were like
the mass. For him, I don't know that I could get my arms around him. The only other person I know that large is my father.
Ah.
So it was a very weird,
Did you accidentally call him dad?
No, my dad would never hug me.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Oh man.
So Lucas really enjoyed the Hammer-In.
Good. Yes. Yeah, no, it was super fun. There's a lot of low-key rock stars that show up.
Yeah.
And to get to rub shoulders with Andy Wozniak and Nick Bachtel and
James Fleming came out last year.
James Fleming.
Really under the radar.
Yeah.
Really, in my opinion, really under the radar.
I hope he makes it out. I know he's struggling with some back issues right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he dropped a tractor on his back or something like
a
that.
whole tractor.
Yep, there we go.
All right.
Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh my goodness.
Looks like you're struggling with back issues there.
Yes. My back hurts right now, and that's probably why.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I would assume so. Couldn't be the air mattress you've been sleeping on.
Hey, I know I'm sleeping on a full bed.
Oh,
my
we
back's been hurting
upgraded
for 2 months.
Oh,
just feels like it's on fire all the time.
You should get that checked out.
I'm young. It's probably okay, but it's not getting better.
It'll grow
back. It does
back.
get worse.
Cool. Well, so the Hammer-In.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick plug on that, and then we'll continue on with the conversation. You said a few kind of rock stars come out. This year we have
Benjamin Paul Snur III.
Derek Melton.
I don't know if he's the third or not.
I don't know if he's the third. He's definitely the first at quite a few things.
Yeah.
He's really, really, really good. Yeah. He's going to be coming out doing an induction forging. Andrew Larson and
Jonathan
Mark Ling are coming out, and we don't know what anybody's doing, and so it's been kind of fun for us because we had to find 4 or 5 different presenters with different styles, and we told them do whatever you want because you don't have to worry. Mark and Andrew aren't going to make the same thing as David or as Ben, or I really hope that Ben comes out and just says, screw this whole blacksmithing thing, let's do a farrier demonstration, because
he's not a farrier though.
He's not?
No, he just learned how to forge from farriers.
Oh, okay. I always thought he came up as a farrier.
I think he just competed in a farrier competition and did well, though.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's ever actually shoot a horse.
Me and Nathan both are obsessed with farriers. I think they're the coolest thing. Genuinely. We just sold an induction forge to a guy named Barry. He's Barry's Bits and Billets, and he makes these beautiful bits and billets
That's cool.
for horses. And he's like, I can get farriers out to you guys. Yeah, we'll talk. And he's like making all these connections with us. And I'm so stoked because farriers to me take, first of all, the intricacy of the work is very undertold. And then second of all, the speed that they do stuff in.
We should get Riley
Insane.
Kirkpatrick to come out.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to text him right after this.
Okay.
Maybe I'll call him.
Cool. FaceTime him.
I bet we can do it.
Yeah. Where's he from?
He lives in like just south of Portland.
That's not even close to here.
No, but he's a homie.
Okay.
And
he can come out with you to hammer.
the town that he lives in, or that his address is in, is the town that Logan ran track for in high school or something. Like
Sick.
that. Yeah.
Sick.
Super fun.
Logan would run track.
Yeah.
I think he pole vaulted.
Did he?
Yeah.
He did. That he tracked in.
He tracked in.
Yeah.
That tracks.
We've
Yeah,
also
it
got
does
the
track.
Windburns coming out doing their multi-bar rap demo.
Oh, yeah, they're doing, I forgot that we added this to the list.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's
Have you spent a lot of time around the Windburns?
here and only at knife shows?
Okay.
Yeah, but they seem super cool.
They're right up there with Pete, with being like the most genuinely sweet,
Wicked
like
cool and
awesome
freaking
people.
talented too.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Did you see their 48-hour dagger challenge daggers?
Yeah, Dale's is sick.
Yeah. Did Dale do the main gouge?
I'm yes.
Is it the big
Yes.
with the sail on it?
Yes,
Yeah,
with the sail.
guard. Yeah.
I don't
Wicked
know the names
cool.
of things.
Yeah. Yeah. The big triangle on the front.
The big triangle.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So come out to the hammering. That'll be a lot of fun. Also, going back to Sofa. Come to Sofa because it will be
And when he says sofa, it's the Southern Ohio Forge.
Southern Ohio Forge and Anvil. Everybody just calls the event Sofa around here, but
He's
it's
not
called
talking about
Quad
he's
State.
not talking about a couch.
People that listen to us actually are involved in the community. They know. So come out to Quad State. There's going to be some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool stuff at Quad State.
Is it a week-long event?
It is technically Wednesday through Sunday, but I don't believe they do admission on Wednesday. I think that's just for tailgaters to show up and set up. But I don't think that. I mean, the real brunt of the show is Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
Sunday it's only open till like noon.
Okay.
So
Yeah. The
Thursdays,
last day of a show is always sad.
yeah.
It's always my least
Yeah.
favorite. Partially because like you're winding down from like the excitement of the show, but then it's also like there's always like half the people there, and I never leave early, and so it's
And it's
always-
all goodbyes. It's
Yeah.
all like I only see certain people at Blade Show or certain people at Quad State.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I'm not going to see you again for a year.
Yeah.
It's good hanging out.
Yeah.
I'll like a couple pictures on Instagram. Don't forget me,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. No, I do love knife shows, but I just hate Sundays.
Yeah. I had a guy at Sofa last year that probably spent 20, 30 minutes explaining to me that he leaves every show the night before. So he'll hang out. So Quad State, The Gathering, places like that keep forging until like 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah.
He'll leave at like 3 a.m. When everybody's done, he'll go pack up his camp and leave because he can't deal with saying goodbye the next morning.
Dang.
He was just like, yeah, I don't do well with it. Saying goodbye puts me into like a really dark place. And it like got really heavy.
Dang.
And he's a great dude. But
Yeah. No,
he just doesn't deal with it. He's just like, nope, not dealing with that.
yeah.
I'm out.
That's fair. Honestly,
Wow.
Evan,
Sorry.
Great.
I don't mind goodbyes all that much, but I also don't think that they like it's not like when you leave an event and you're like, oh, I forgot to say goodbye. Whatever. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's okay. Oh man. Yeah. What else we got? This week been a lot of fun work.
Yeah. Let's talk
But-
about the 48-hour dagger challenge.
I was going to talk about the presses, but okay. If you
Yeah,
want to talk
dude,
about something that won't sell.
This
your
isn't a
presses,
sales
but-
tactic for us. This is a community tactic. Show off your knife. Tell us what you did. Tell us the effort that you put forward, and then tell us the tools that you used, because one of them's kind of a fun thing we have around the shop now.
Presses.
The other thing. that you
I'm just kidding. I know
that
what
you
I know what you're saying.
it's still upright, which is a feat for you.
Ouch. I actually don't know what you're talking about now because I thought I knew, but
Hey,
now I
producer
don't.
Evan, can you bring up the clip?
Oh, not the induction forge, the super dope induction forge that y'all saw
No.
that I had a great time using on this.
Yeah, well, I'm just really stoked that our hammer's still upright,
Yeah, I did my best.
Yeah, it's
Logan
still-
slapped me when I got close to it with a pallet jack.
not
though.
on the ground. Right. He didn't. He's still working. He doesn't need to nap.
That's fair. No sleepy time for old Mr. Nazel.
All right. So what'd you do? What was your inspiration from? How'd you make it? All the fun, interesting stuff.
So I started the steel at 3 o'clock on Monday. Threw a big old billet in the forge, welded it up underneath the Nazel. So Logan just got this Nazel 3B in. Those are neat little hammers.
I've been shocked at kind of how quiet he's been about it on the internet. I would think he would have like 2 or 3 videos out a day.
He's compiling a library, and he's going to come out, and all you're going to see for the next 6 months is wire wheeling content of the Nazel.
Cool.
Yeah, but I am too, honestly. Yeah, but also like he's super wants to talk about it in person, but like that's just not really his like Northwest Blade Works brand. I feel like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for the dagger, I did some twisted W's for the blade. Started off with an 11-layer billet, welded it up, stacked it up 3 times, so 33 layers. Crushed it into C's, and then twisted that bar and got kind of a neat pattern. This dagger is not done, by the way. I failed at the 48-hour dagger challenge. It was too challenging.
Yeah. Well, we also got started a little bit late because we had to tune up the Nazel.
Got started late. Bounced between this shop and Logan's shop. There's a lot of things going on at Coal Iron Works. Y'all are having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so it's not quite as focused as me being alone in my own shop type thing. I think that I probably would have gotten it done if I was working in my own shop.
We every single square foot of this shop is being used almost every single day. We don't have a spot for you to just go sit by yourself. It's like, hey, dude, I know you're doing this really cool challenge, but I have things I have to do. So we have to kick you off there, and then you go to the grind room, and then we kick you out of there.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you understand that.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to see you finish it though.
Yeah. Well, I'll have it done. Maybe I'll bring it to the hammering.
Maybe, or maybe Quad State.
Maybe. I've been traveling a lot. Anyway, so twisted W's for the blade. I got it forged out and heat treated that night. Ended that night at about 3 a.m. or so. And then woke up the next morning, got to tempering on it. And then I made the guard for it during that time. That second day, I was not very productive. I forged out a guard using your guys' induction forge.
Yeah.
And forging bronze in an induction forge is mega cool.
Yeah.
Mega cool.
And it works.
Yes.
Bronze works. Well, we use
Yeah.
aluminum bronze. It was yours
so
aluminum bronze?
954.
Yeah, 954.
Yeah. 954 is cash money to work with,
It's
by
so
the way.
fun.
It is very,
So fun.
and it's like a perfect color match to 14 karat gold, I believe, which is pretty neat. But yeah, that was a really good time getting to play with that. I ended up scrapping the guard that I forged out because I did it wrong, basically. And so I just stock removed this from a piece of your guys' 1/2-inch material.
Yeah.
And then
Right, but that goes back to what we talked about being willing to scrap something.
Yes.
Because it's going to take way longer to fix it. Let's just start over.
Did try to scrap it. I think David ended up taking it.
Oh, of course
did.
David took it.
He did.
Yeah.
He did take it.
He's our scrap raccoon.
Yeah, he did ask me about it first, though. He was like, "Hey, this is mine now." Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. Is this mine? Can I have this?
no, yeah, he did take it. So thankfully, it's not. Well, I don't know if he'll ever use it for anything, but
No,
we'll see.
he won't. He won't.
A good memento.
He has all these things that he's like, I want to do this and this, and then he'll start a project, and it's all new steel.
Yeah.
He very rarely will. He incorporates wrought when he has wrought, but that's about the only thing I've seen him use
Yeah.
that's like scavenged.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah. So Dave showed up the second day in the afternoon, and by the time I left the shop that day, the blade was ground to 600 grit. It had been surface ground, so it was flat. The tang was not threaded yet. I had my guard like very loosely roughed in. Yes, very loosely roughed in. Still had a flat bottom on it. I had carved a slot in the mill for the fit up, and then I had turned my pommel, and I left tenons on either side so I could take it to a hand drill and put it on a belt grinder and polish it that way, basically. And that actually worked out quite well.
Yeah.
And then, where I called it that night, I had basically fit the guard up and done a lot of the shaping to it and hand sanded my blade. And we ended that night at like 3:30, something like that. So not quite 4 a.m., but I was being
rookie
dramatic.
numbers.
Yeah, some
Rookie.
YouTube exaggerations. I stayed up till 4 a.m. and this happened. So then the next morning we woke up I think I got up at like 7, something like that. Came over to the shop, did the final grinding on my guard, tuned up my facets with files and stuff like that. And then I got to work on fitting up my block of ironwood for the handle. This handle may get scrapped.
I disagree. I love that handle.
I mean, there are a few things that I might just have to refit it. I think that's a very likely possibility as well, because there are some lines on here that don't work.
Coloring in it, I'm a big fan of that
it is
specific
a
chunk.
Wicked piece of ironwood.
Yeah.
Evan, would you pull up my submission for the Jim Bowie project? Because that is the nicest piece of ironwood that I've
This also
ever seen. It was about a year ago.
Fits so comfortably in the pocket of my hand.
Yeah.
That little ridge
Yeah.
fits.
Yeah.
perfect.
It's a little bit, that is the most wicked piece of ironwood that I've ever used.
That is nice.
It was big spicy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Also, that handle, I had to buy a mega oversized chunk of ironwood because that's a big knife, and how curved it is and how wide it is at the butt was insane. Anyway, there's just the way that the bottom of the guard flows into the handle right now. The fact that it changes angles there is a big no-no. And so I may just have to adjust the bottom of the guard and then refit it. That's the other bummer with this fit up is you have to have your bolster be where it's going to be 100%, because you cannot change it after you fit it up.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a flat fit, there's some more adjustability there. Got my ironwood fit up, threaded my tang. I actually used the induction forge. The block was really close to fitting all the way on, but it wasn't quite there. So I used the induction forge and did my first ever burned in fit. Because I didn't have enough time. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of that fit up method.
We tried to do a burn in for a video that should be coming out soon for a guy who's affiliated with PBS. I don't think this one's for PBS, but we tried to do a burn in live. It would not go.
What wood were you using?
Evan, what wood?
I think it was walnut.
Oh. Huh. Weird.
Just every time I've ever tried to do a burn in, it's been fight. You have to fight.
It was like I needed to move it 1/2 inch up, and I could tell that it was just hanging up in one spot, but I didn't have the tools that I normally use here to be able to get to it in the way that I would normally get to it.
Yeah.
Namely, like the specific broaches that I use for clearing out tang slots. And so I was just like, That's the sound that it makes, by the way.
Yep. That's a good induction impersonation.
Thank you.
Where is that the burn in?
That's the burn in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sound does the induction make?
Beep, beep, beep. It's actually spot on.
I love every time we post a video of it, somebody will be like, "Oh, it's so cute, it chirps." Every single time we post any content around the induction forge, it's somebody that's like, it chirps, it's so cute.
It is cute, and it does chirp, and it's fantastic, and I'm going to buy one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I have more coming in.
When are they coming in?
I think we're about 6 to 8 weeks away right now.
Yeah.
And I've sold a lot of them. So people should continue to buy them so that I can order more.
They are seriously a unbelievably useful tool in the shop.
Yeah.
Because how many times in whatever project you're doing do you need to get a specific heat somewhere, and you don't want to, even it can be like on the chunk of like 1 inch round stock, and you don't want to wait 45 minutes or an hour for your forge to heat up, and you don't want to have to bust out the torch set to have something super loud, it spreads the heat out a lot wider. You have to figure out a great way to hold it. Like And even then, it takes, if you want to heat up some 1-inch round stock with an oxyacetylene torch, like it's going to take like a minute or two to get it up to heat.
Sure.
Whereas 30 seconds with an induction forge, and it's quiet and it's fast.
I test all of the induction forges with 1-inch H13.
Oh.
And 1-inch H13 round, and I get sparks at about 35 seconds.
Oh my god!
So that's kind of my quality control.
Yeah.
Is making sure that I'm getting the right kilowatt out.
Yeah.
And then about 30 to 35 seconds in, I should be at forge weld heat.
Yeah, that's wicked cool.
Yeah.
Have you done any forge welding in them?
I did mild the other day on accident. I messed up the handle on a bottle opener, and so I just folded it over. And
did it work?
No, but that wasn't it would have had I not been the one doing it.
Yeah, little
mild is super hard to forge weld to itself.
Sure.
It's not. Yeah, I should have used a little bit of flux.
It's interesting because I feel like the induction forges. Well, I don't feel like it's a fact that they oxidize things faster.
Yeah,
because it is. I mean, if you were to do like a argon purge over the top of it, that would be a different story. That would be hella dope, actually.
Let's build a cabinet.
Oh my gosh,
let's build
that would be
an argon cabinet for the induction forge.
So cool.
Yeah.
Because but with a propane forge, you can have the like very propane rich environment to reduce the oxidation.
Yeah, we've never flooded.
Are you an oxidation or an oxidization guy?
Oxidation all day.
You don't add that extra Z in there?
No. That's like saying aluminium.
Is it though?
It's wrong.
Yeah, but it'd be like aluminium.
We didn't win the war to say things wrong.
That's fair. Yeah. So I remember, I think the first time I was ever on Alex's channel when I was 18, I literally just turned 18, and I used the term oxidization just because I literally didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And boy, did I get roasted in the comment section.
Yeah.
It's bad.
You guys can do that here too.
Yeah.
You guys can roast Will in the comment section. I look forward to it.
I'm used to it.
So I'm assuming that we're probably hitting our hour 20-minute mark. Let's talk about what you've got coming up. What are things that are coming out in the land of Will that Will can talk about to start getting people excited about your YouTube channel, events, whatever you're going to be doing. What do you got going on?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing that I'm going to be working on for the next year or so that I can talk about is my Mastersmith set. I'm going to be testing to become, hopefully, a master bladesmith with the American Bladesmith Society at Blade Show this year. I'll also be at a couple other events. I think I'm going to exhibit at Blade Show Texas. I'm going to be attending Blade Show West. I'll be at the Coal Iron Works Hammer-In. I'll be at the Travis Wirtz Hammer-In. Hopefully going to Brazil in a couple months to hang out with some absolutely amazing makers down there. People in Brazil build different.
Yeah.
Those dudes can build some knives.
I've got a dumb question for you.
Yeah.
Brazil's
in South America.
Nope, not that dumb.
Okay.
There's a hammer maker. There's a hammer maker named Church of Brazil. Is he actually in Brazil? Do you know? I follow his stuff, but I haven't looked into him. But his hammers are,
I don't know,
insane. They're so cool.
Do you have any photos of him? Does it just?
What I was gonna say is, if he is in Brazil, if you could just hang out with him for me.
Oh, yeah,
that would be sick. Okay. It's a bummer.
Yeah, I will be completely at the mercy of the two guys that I'm going to visit. I'm going to spend a week with Julian Antunes and then another week with Dino Tom Franco. Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dang.
I
would say based off of the fact that he has his WhatsApp linked in there and that he's probably in Brazil. Brazil is, I think, the largest knife market in the world, from what I understand.
Brazil is huge, physically. So,
yeah. Again, it's not. You understand.
I understand what?
It's in South America.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
What does that have to do with anything?
You struggle with geography and.
No, that's Nathan. Nathan has no idea. He thought Italy was in France.
Yeah, he told me that. That's really embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bad. And then he asked what the difference between France and Italy was, and he doesn't think Italy's shaped like a boot. He denies the fact that Italy's shaped like a boot.
What?
Yeah.
It's the Buddhist country.
It's
not actually a Buddhist country. It is the
Bootiest. Boot.
I don't know, man.
The most boot shaped.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, so you're going to Brazil. Probably have some content on the YouTube about that.
Sure.
Sometime.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of hammer-ins you're going to.
Yeah.
What are you excited about outside of what you're doing? What are you excited about coming up this year? Are there any big things happening that you want to plug for other people? Because I know that you have a lot of connections.
Like some super dope 120-ton presses that, when they have a digital press controller on them, will bump 330 hits per minute.
330 hits per minute at 120 tons. Yes, sir.
That's absolutely insane. Yeah. That's
and
cool.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's not even scary.
Forge welded a 20-pound billet on a 120-ton press yesterday.
When we brought them in and we
Boys.
built them, when we ran the first one, I was like, this is going to be terrifying.
I remember
It's not.
with the 12-ton power pack at the hammer-in last year, I squished some billetage. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's the clip from yesterday setting the welds. And actually, the pressure gauge was a little messed up, and so that was only running at 40 tons. But
We're not done building that one. That's literally mid-build.
Not even mid-build. That's the first hot steel that it's seen,
Yeah.
I think, with the new power pack.
Yeah.
So obviously things are still getting worked out. But that's pretty cool. Oh man. You guys are working on some super cool stuff other than that we're not allowed to talk about, but that I want to talk about really bad.
Yeah. We can't.
Yeah.
But what's fun is we'll be able to the day after this podcast comes out because we're announcing it at SOFA.
Good. So y'all should set your alarms 24 hours from now when you're listening to it. And or if it's a day after it came out, go check, because you guys are a cool company, and you hired a very cool design engineer.
Yeah.
And he's very passionate about this project.
Very
and
passionate.
It's all I've heard about for the last
2 years.
two years.
Yeah.
And it's going to be mega cool.
Yeah. So we will have an interactive experience at Quad State for people to come out that is a classic historical experience that people will recognize.
Yes.
I think most people probably have the final steps of this project already in their mind. Everybody knows the last couple steps to this project. So
I don't understand what you're saying.
am I being too cryptic?
You're being too cryptic.
Too cryptic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's guess you just have to come to
Can we just say it and have Evan bleep it out?
Evan.
Do it.
All right, so
Super
tomorrow
dope.
at SOFA we will be announcing a. We have to cut this whole section out.
Yeah, it's all got to go.
Yeah, it's all got to go.
You could just bleep out selective sections of it.
Yeah, that's all got to go. But this will be a big thing, not just for us as a company. I think it's going to be huge for us, and I'm really stoked about it.
Yeah.
But I also think it's going to be really, really cool for makers and for a generation of makers to get their hands on something that they haven't been able to for a really long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At a affordable price point. It's not a it's obtainable.
Affordable, and there's not a ton of steps involved afterwards,
Yeah.
like there are with a lot of other.
Yeah. I do
products.
have one thing that I want to talk about, and that is how disappointed I am in the fact that you guys are calling your hammer-in a hammer-in and not a press conference.
Okay, so
I've been
first of
raising
all-
this beef for 2 years.
The press conference thing has been a joke that I as soon as we became a company, I think people started referring to things as a press conference.
Okay.
I know that you like to think you're the original on that one, but it's just dad humor.
I never heard it anywhere else. And no
I
one
have
told me.
every time we send a newsletter out,
Yeah.
I have a couple people that respond with, "It's so upsetting that you don't call your newsletter the press conference
Yeah. They're
or
right.
or pressing news."
Yeah.
Right.
It's low-hanging fruit.
So that's low hanging fruit. We have a joke when I go to shows. I get more mentally strained, and so some of my responses to "Hey, how you doing?" are things like, "Well, I'm 6 feet up, not 6 feet under. Better than I deserve." Things like that, right? and a customer, I think it was at Blade Show this year said, well, you certainly put the press into pressing. So that's where just any joke that you've made about pressing went out the window because that guy won.
That's fair.
That guy won.
That's fair. I understand that.
So
In a sad, my humor is just not that sad.
yeah.
Yeah. Or good.
Nah. You said it, not me. All right, guys. I want to say thank you so much to Will for coming out specifically to see me. His ego was getting a little too large, so he needed to be berated. We always have a great time. I love having you out, as mean as I am to you. It's always fun to see what you're doing, what you're up to. Guys, come hang out with us. We have a lot of stuff going on. Go see Will at all the events that he mentioned. Get involved in your community. Going back to earlier in the conversation, get involved. We'd love to have you out here. Will started at 14 years old, and now he's on a podcast in a small town in Indiana. That could be you. That could be you, boys and girls. You could be in Anderson, Indiana right now.
You don't want to be, though.
Love you guys. Bye.
No, Anderson's okay. Thank you, Francis. That was a good time. That's going to come off as really cocky because people don't know about Anderson.
Yeah.
You too could watch crackheads crack out on the street. Crack
But
around.
like in the most fun way.
Crack around and find out.
Judgmental.
Oh.